day, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. I'm here with Bob Willis, the CEO of Sun Summit Minerals. Sun Summit trades on the venture under the symbol SMN, trades OTC under SMREF. Stock's having a pretty good day today, and well, it should, as Bob put out a release this morning that's essentially a really impressive looking drill hole, but really the whole set of results is impressive, and it really, as I believe Bob put it himself, it's sort of a game changer for the project. Can you kind of tell us in a nutshell why you're using that term game changer, and what sense is, other than obviously the high grade, but in what sense are these results a game changer, do you think?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. It's a great day for us and our shareholders. I think as far as the game changer terminology, it's really about, I guess, our technical team, which we think is second to none, that have spent the summer modeling the Buck project, which we believe has not been done in the past, and coming up with primarily structural analysis of previous drill results that has shown us that we think there's a structural fabric to this deposit, and we think that there's some areas that had not been drilled before that we think were very prospective. So I think the game changer is really on our disclosed hole 12 today, where why is that a game changer? I guess first of all, it was drilled into an area between what we call the horseshoe zone and the trench zone, which are previous areas that had previous drilling, and albeit very shallow drill holes in the 1980s, and in an area where we felt that based on the structural analysis that there would be some feeder zones, if you will. And so hole 12, when we drilled it, it was basically a no man's land. So it's definitely a discovery hole. And the key thing in hole 12 is that it's intersected multiple intervals of plus 10 gram gold material, and we've never seen that on the Buck before. And so as far as a game changer, we think we've drilled into an area that is maybe related to some IP work that we're just kind of modeling as we speak. And again, that's going to be an area that we're going to be really hitting hard when we get back drilling again. So it's really an area where when we drilled the hole, look at the core, some of this very high grade core is, I would say, kind of nondescript. So it's a very, very new area of mineralization, and most likely is related to one of several phases of mineralization, and it looks like it's primarily high grade gold. So it's just really a new discovery area for us.
And so these high grade, I mean, other than the fact they're high grade, obviously, what's different about this, or is anything different? Is this just higher grade, or is there something genuinely different about these high grade? Do they look different from what you guys saw in the same drill holes in the past? Is this like a different type of mineralization than you didn't see this in the old drill logs, right? It wasn't anything like this.
Well, in some of the historical drilling, and even in the 5 holes that we drilled in the winter of last year, I mean, there were some sniffs here and there of quarter meter, I don't know, half meter of multi-gram gold. But I think what we're seeing is, I don't want to say a new style of mineralization. It might be, but it's maybe just a different phase. And so based on that, we are going to be going back to the project and rooting out some drill holes from this last program, and basically re-logging, because we think that maybe some of the very subtle and very distinct geology that I don't want to say has been missed, but maybe not logged correctly. So part of our Get Going Again program is going to be relogging or logging again certain areas of previous drill holes that possibly we may want to I don't want to say re-assay, but maybe do some check assays. So and the other key thing I think about this particular drill hole 12 is that like these high grade intervals are not over 20 centimeters, 30 centimeters, 40 centimeters. Like these are our basic sample size is 1.5 meters, and for most areas. And so these are our key, to me, key intercepts. So it's yeah.
Now I've thrown up the drill plan here. This shows the new holes. They have the green collars. Obviously, hole 12 is the one that's highlighted. You can see, the viewers can see how this hole is kind of between those two areas, and you'll see later when I throw up a cross section that these intervals are pretty deep compared to the other stuff, and that's one other thing that you guys changed when you did this drilling. I mean, most of your holes were, I wouldn't say significantly, but they were definitely deeper than almost all the historic drilling. And it looks like you're still wide open to depth because you had several holes where you were getting intercepts at or very close to the bottom of the hole. So, I mean, aside from going laterally, going deeper is a thing here, but it looks like you've got, I don't know, 200 or 300 meters between the buck holes or the horseshoe holes and the trench holes, the closest ones. But it's pretty much wide open north and south. Is that kind of how you think this stuff is sitting? I realize you only got one hole, so.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think, again, hole 12 is like, on the map, it kind of looks like it's kind of drilled into the trench zone, but vertically it's about 250 meters or so kind of down below the historical holes. And if you look at the trench zone and you see the little white dots of historical drilling, they're all drilled basically north-south.
Right.
And they're very shallow, like maybe 100 meters, at a minus 50 or 150 meters. Like, so vertically, the penetration is very shallow. So our recent work, and again, unfortunately, we're going to be, a short period of time away, maybe, 10 days or 2 weeks away from talking about, the IP response in this area, plus other areas on the property where we think there may be a relationship between the IP chargeabilities. And we've seen that in the horseshoe zone. So for example, we look on the right of this map, where hole 9 is, where hole 11, where hole 10 is, where hole 6, whatever. There are some historical IP chargeabilities there, albeit quite, they're fairly small blobs, if you will. But where we drill through some chargeability, we do see, escalated gold value. So hole 12 is pointed in the right direction, if you will. And we think that definitely in the trench zone from the 1980 drill holes, there's definitely sniffs of high grade material here and there, wherever, but we don't feel it, it wasn't followed up to the depths that we're talking about. So as far as being open, definitely open to depth, to the north, to the south, to the west, even to the east. So, this is a true discovery hole, and it's it's an area that we just can't wait to kind of compile our geophysical results, if you will, in the next week or so here, and kind of really see what that means. But it looks very, very compelling in our opinion.
Obviously not take away from hole 12, which is obviously the highlight. I was quite pleased to see several quite nice grade. Gram to gram and a half equivalent, and the equivalent here is just gold and silver that are pretty much right from surface. You've got these 40, 50 meter intercepts. It's real, it's real starter pit material, if you will, to foreshadow things a bit. But that also seemed to be better than what guys were getting historically in this area. Is that again a function of sort of understanding this fabric and orienting things a little differently. That's maybe why you got better grades this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think again, it just gets back to our team that have modeled the project so far and have continued to model it, where it was determined that, and it took us all summer, that the structural fabric, and of course the kind of the northwest southeast fabric, if you will, and then there's these north-south model faults and intersections of these for conduits, if you will, and really what the group model was a rock type, if you will, that we would call it Mosaic breccia, and it's really kind of an angular clast-hosted breccia that's just slammed full, in the matrix of sulfides, and that happens to be pyrites, fluorite, et cetera, marcasite, and this is the area we call it the Mosaic breccia that's near or at surface, is 40 plus meters, a pretty significant grade, and it's and that in the core is fairly, now after the fact, fairly easy to see and visualize. We didn't know that before, and again, there was a sniff of that maybe in one hole from 35 years ago, but again, based on the structural analysis, we followed up on that, and again, going forward here in our drill program, we'll be definitely not only going with some drill holes pointed towards the higher grade intercepts in 12, but also this near surface stuff will be really hitting that hard as well. So it's really exciting from that perspective, this near surface stuff. So
well, the Mosaic breccia, that's also something that's new in the sense I don't think that was described in the old drilling. I mean, it's pretty cool looking stuff. I think you got a couple of pictures up on the website. And in retrospect, it's obvious, but I guess it seems like what's going on here is you have probably several pulses, several generations, because you've got like different breccias and different mineralization styles in the system. And it's I'm just going to flip to the section here. This is the AA line that you saw on the previous map. That's this section. We're looking north here on this section. You can see obviously hole 12 here. That's one of the big highlight intersections. There's another one. Here's another one, which I think significantly is right at the bottom of the hole. But here's this sort of Mosaic breccia stuff up near surface. And the interpreted mineralized envelope, as you call it, that's basically based on, I guess, drill holes to date. You can also see here that there's a lot of room between these intercepts and stuff up at the trench zone, assuming the trench zone is the same zones. Who knows? That's where you're going to have to find out, obviously, drilling. But it's a long way from here up to here. But this mineralized envelope, that's basically just based on anomalous or above cutoff stuff in historic drilling. You just kind of stuck all that together and use that to shape this. But that looks like it's also wide open. And it's interesting if you look in the middle of this, you see this interpreted fault here. And I'm just going based on the shape of these envelopes. It looks like there might be a little bit of movement here, and maybe that helps explain why, because I know this is a fault that you guys recognized. This might explain why nobody really bothered trying to do anything in between those zones before. There's nothing at surface. There's no great honking geocamera or anything, because everything's kind of dropped down a bit by the look of it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, some of the structure from historical exploration drilling in the 1980s, if you will. I mean, there were a few faults that were logged in drill holes. Yes, most of what we see, most of what we see on this section plus on our plan map is result of our group's analysis and interpretation. But it's not just the fact that faults were logged in drill holes, but it's the interpretation of them and going through the 3D modeling and the analysis and what does it mean. And that's where I think we've taken it the next step, where it's really, I don't want to say it's not that complicated, but it's kind of coming together where it makes sense. And as far as these vertical faults that we see, we don't, vertical, yeah, maybe. I mean, it looks though they could be. They're steep for sure,
Right.
and they're interpreted for sure, and our guys have come up with that. But as far as movement on the faults, I think again, we'll we just need another week or 10 days or so here to kind of really get to a point where we can maybe do a bit of a initial determination on if this is a stair step type thing of a little bit of movement, and whether it's what is lateral, we don't know that. We don't think there's a ton of movement, but we think there is some, and I think that's going to really bode well for us to target our drill holes that we're going to be starting shortly. So and as far as the interpreted mineralized envelope, I mean, it's really the buck has always had, in all the historical drill holes, and even our drill holes, it's got a lot of half-gram material over 100 meters, 150 meters, or 0.4 grams, 0.8. Like there's a ton of that stuff everywhere, and so our mandate was really to say, like, that's all wonderful, but we believe that there's some, there's a better target here, if you will, and meaning some higher grade material. And again, yes, it's one hole, but our modeling shows that it probably won't be the last hole. So it's I think that the volume of rock we see here is impressive because it's mineralized. Grades are ranging from, like I say, half gram or whatever up to multigram, but it's our job to really penetrate this hard, and the near surface material, as you pointed out in the horseshoe zone there, is, that's kind of a gimme, if you will, for starter pit or getting going. And that's pretty cool grade for right at surface. So.
And so, obviously you guys are pretty, I had a quick earlier technical call with you guys. I know everybody on the team's pretty jacked up, which is great. And you guys want to hit this hard. What's the next step? I know the guys mentioned that, you probably got to do some road work and pads and stuff like that. And I think, I think you guys want to relog this, because I know you had the consultants working on the last drill phase, and one thing that's worth noting, and part of the reason why I wasn't really expecting bad news, Bob and I are friends and we talk, and I know you've been kind of bulking up the team and hiring people, and you've been setting stuff up in Houston so that you're kind of good to go at a much bigger level. Like you've been kind of really kind of working on the infrastructure to really kind of step things up here, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And we could see even pre-assay results. So we could just see that there was something new, something exciting, and something that we felt was going to be significant. So, and it really wasn't until we saw some assay results, and obviously we were delayed in a normal response time from the assay lab like every other company, but having said that, now you can obviously see that we had to do some some check as over limits. Usually you have to kind of meaning over 10 grams per ton gold, you have to reassay sort of thing, so that adds time anyway. So I think, but we could see ahead of time. So we've rented some houses in the town of Houston for, a year plus sort of thing, and for our staff, and we've got a large warehouse for, core logging facility and in Houston. And so we're setting up to really get going on this thing, and it's not going to take very long for us to get going. So meaning that we have to get up there and plow some snow from the boxes of core that we want to relog, get our staff up there, get some drill pads made, get our drill contractor up there. There's one drill on site as we speak that was sitting there from prior to Christmas. So, whether we add another drill, we're not sure at this point in time, but I expect that within, by the end of the month, meaning January, I expect we'll be turning the drills. At least that's our plan. It's going to be as quick as possible, and I expect, like I say, in the next 3 weeks, thereabouts. So.
Okay, and Sun Summit is financed and permitted for this. I know you guys have got a 5-year exploration permit, so you got lots of room to build pads and stuff like that. And when I did sort of the more technical call earlier, I mean, everything was kind of in draft form, and it was kind of they're still moving stuff around, and I know they really want to relog it because with these new zones, you know, I know the both of the Chris's on your team are going like, yeah, we got to go and look at this core in the wild, as it were,
Yeah.
and look at these zones again and get better pictures and stuff. But I think I think you'll be putting something out once you're finished this modeling with the IP and everything. We can expect another release here pretty quick. That's going to have a bit more meat on the bone in terms of the IP and the structural stuff. And this is why we drill. This is why we're going to drill where we're going to drill. That shouldn't be too long.
Absolutely, yeah. No, absolutely, 100% on that. And you know, I'm guessing at a couple weeks. You know, it just, you know, it'll be a short period of time. It'll obviously be in January. So, you know, to pick a date, I don't know, but it'll be very quick. And that's going to be, to me and our group, you know, probably as exciting for that disclosure about what we see on the IP and the relationship between gold and as what we see here today. I mean, I think that this is exciting, but you know, in a very short period of time is going to be equally exciting news as far as I'm concerned. And again, it's a matter of just starting the program. As you mentioned, we're financed. We'll be on site ASAP, and we're just going to give it and go for it hard. We really don't have. I mean, yes, we're you know, we're generating our drill hole plan, which is still not complete. We have daily meetings on that, but so I mean, we got a couple dozen holes or thereabouts, or maybe more, that are kind of modeled in, and you know, meter, just who knows. I mean, you know, again, if you look at hole 12, I mean, if we kind of look at that now and we see the same core in another hole, instead of stopping it at 370 meters, maybe it's going 500 meters. You know, so we don't really know total meterage, total holes, but we're financed to do for the foreseeable future as much drilling as we want, and that's our intention. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, I know. Like the earlier call, I mean, both Chris has pointed out that, you know, we're still doing this drill plan, but it's pretty obvious from what, you know, from what they're working on already, the next phase is going to be significantly larger than the phase you just finished.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Bob's too polite to say it, but I'll say that, you know, Sun Summit's got about 3 million in flow through, and I know they're all in drill costs, and I mean all in assays and everything is really cheap. It's like $200 a meter, so they're, you know, they can drill for a long time, and my senses are going to. I got a feeling this program isn't going to stop anytime soon once it starts.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's it'll be an ongoing modeling as we go through this next startup phase of drilling and continuing, and I'm sure we're going to find some really interesting things. And but you know, again, we've assembled a team that can, like a direct team with Sun Summit, that we can actually just continue and not be losing folks to a small contract sort of thing. I mean, it's you know, we are building, you know, our team and logistics, etc., for an absolute major ongoing program here. So and that's our intent.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that covers everything for today. I mean, you know, again, great news. I mean, I think most subscribers realize Bob and I are personal friends aside from everything else. So I'm obviously happy to see the good guys win one. And I think there's going to be a lot of great news coming out of Sun Summit this year. And I think, well, you know, we can get on Zoom again maybe once you've got the IP/structural stuff out, because I got a feeling that's going to be an eye opener, because your guys were trying really hard not to tell me anything today. I mean, it's not really, you know, it's just kind of stuff they've already done, but I could tell these guys they're jacked up, and not just about these results themselves. I obviously think they're onto something pretty major here. So we'll leave it there for now.
Absolutely. And yeah, thanks, Eric. And yes, the next release will be significant, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. And just so everybody knows, Bob's sort of in the suburbs of the suburbs of the suburbs, so he's kind of on a satellite. He's kind of on a satellite feed, not on a cell feed or a cell tower. So that's why there's a bit of a delay, and I was giving him time to start his responses because he's out in the Boonies someplace. These geos, I don't like coming into town unless it's for pemmican and whiskey, you know how it is. So that's it for today, everybody. Thanks for watching. Great news. Great start to 2021, and hopefully there'll be good news from a bunch of other guys. Thanks very much. Talk to you all later. Okay.